So welcome. This session is the New Tactics in Human Rights kind of Twitter chat how-to. For some of you, this may be a quick refresher, and for others of you, this may be the first time that you're learning kind of best practices about participating in Twitter chats. And so we are going to just jump right in here, and I'll introduce myself. So I'm Melissa McNeely. I am the digital project manager for New Tactics Spanish and English content. I'm fairly new to CVT as an organization, but consider myself a fellow activist and advocate. Before we jump into the how-to of Twitter chats, just want to give everyone on the call a quick recap of New Tactics as a program. We are a program of CVT, which is the Center for Victims of Torture. Our mission is to inspire and equip activists to become more effective in their advocacy campaigns through strategic thinking, tactical planning, and we do this in several ways. So we create and share information and materials on our website, such as our tactics database, various toolkits that we offer, for example, in our 5-step strategic effectiveness method and in advocacy evaluation, as well as our tactical mapping tool, where human rights advocates can map the relationships around the problems that they want to solve in their communities. We provide training and mentoring in all of these materials and support to human rights advocates all over the world. And then finally, we strive to build an online community. We have had various kind of formats for these online conversations over the years. Some of you have maybe participated in those previously, whether they were forums or Zoom webinars or podcast episodes. And so this session is directly supporting this third goal of building our online community. So what is a Twitter chat? We will start with the basics. So Twitter chats have been around for quite a few years. They're really popular in the world that I come from, which is the world of education. I was a language educator for 11 years, and they're also pretty popular in business and marketing. But there aren't too many Twitter chats that are happening in this space of kind of humanitarian and human rights issues. And so this is a really exciting kind of new format that we're piloting this year. And Twitter chats are basically a way of connecting through a shared hashtag. And so hashtags were the way that Twitter chats started, right? So our hashtag is going to be human rights chat. It doesn't matter whether those letters are not case sensitive. So whether they're capital or lowercase, that does not matter when you're putting the hashtag into your tweet. Twitter chats usually happen at a specific time, although asynchronous chats or slow chats are becoming more popular. But ours is going to run just like an in-person experience, like a 1-hour event with a specific start time. So it will be October 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern. I know we are in time zones all across the globe, so please make sure that you have the appropriate time for you. And we will have a set agenda as well. So part of this is I will be giving our chat leaders and support staff that are on this call from CVT a preview of the questions and a template for making your participation as easy as possible. So our current chat series will use, again, hashtag human rights chat, and we will come together at this specific time to share ideas and to have a conversation around balancing self-care and human rights activism. All right, on this slide, I just want to talk a little bit about why we've chosen this format. So Twitter chats are really great for audience engagement, for interacting with new allies around a topic, and for fostering idea sharing. But the thing that the team at New Tactics really loves about this idea is that anyone can participate. There's almost no barrier to access here. To have your voice heard in this conversation, all you have to have is a Twitter account, and even people that do not have a Twitter account can still see the conversation and benefit from seeing the resources. So we may have participants out there that are not comfortable participating in the chat, but who are interested in the topic and who are still following it via the hashtag. And we also have just noticed that our online conversations in the various forums that they've taken over the years can feel very speaker-centric. When it's a webinar or a podcast, you've only got a couple of voices that are really the sage on the stage, right? And New Tactics really wants to become more of the guide on the side and kind of democratize access to these conversations so that all stakeholders in our community can feel like they have an opportunity for their voice to be heard. All right, now we are going to get into the how-to. So today I'm going to show you two different options for participating in human rights chat. Option one is really the most simple and straightforward option, but option two is going to be my favorite option for kind of maximizing your own engagement. So we'll start with option one here, which is at the time of the chat. So on October 5th at 12 Eastern, you'll get on Twitter and you will search the human rights chat hashtag. However, Twitter defaults to the top tweets when you search a hashtag. So in order to see the most recent tweets in the conversation, you'll want to click on this little tab that says latest and make sure that that is where you are following the chat live. So the most recent tweets will come to the top of that latest tab. So honestly, that's it. That's option number one, the most simple option for participating in human rights chat. And just be sure that you're clicked on that latest tab and you can interact directly within Twitter as you normally would in commenting, retweeting, quoting tweets, or responding to tweets. Just make sure that you are always including the hashtag human rights chat. So option two is a little bit more complex, and I'm actually going to do a demo of this tool for you today. So this is kind of my pro tips for our conversation leaders and support people, but not a requirement at all. If you prefer option one for your participation this time, kind of the more low tech option, then that is certainly fine. And maybe in a future Twitter chat, you can try out this other tool that I recommend called Tweetdeck. So, this one is especially for chat leaders and people who are wanting to support the conversation and have a more organized experience. You can follow human rights chat through a tool called Tweetdeck. Tweetdeck is owned by Twitter, and so you just log into tweetdeck.com with your existing Twitter account. And as you can see on this slide, it allows you to add columns with feeds for specific hashtags. So you can add a column that is specific for hashtag human rights chat. For specific users, I would recommend adding @NewTactics because that will be the moderator of the chat, and that way you don't miss any of the questions as they're coming through in the human rights chat feed. And then other columns, as you want to customize them, I do recommend having your own notifications column in Tweetdeck so that you can see people that are responding, liking, interacting with your own tweets so that you can kind of delve into some of those side conversations that begin to happen. So I'm going to jump over to Tweetdeck just briefly here. You can see that I have my dashboard set up here. It auto-populates some columns for you, like your messages, your notifications, and then to reorder them, you can just drag and drop the columns where you would like them to be. So as I'm participating in human rights chat, I'm going to have a column here for my moderator, my notifications, and a column for human rights chat. And so to get these columns added, you go to the little search function over here, you type in what it is that you're looking for. So if I search human rights chat again, it's going to add just another column for the human rights chat hashtag. The moderator will be @NewTactics, but one kind of piece of best practice advice that I have is it's really nice for Twitter chat participants to put a face with the organization. And so I will be moderating from that account, but I'll introduce myself as me, and I will temporarily update the profile photo to be a photo of me so that people can put the face with NewTactics as an organization. And so for you guys personally, I wouldn't shy away from using your personal Twitter account. But if you are using an organizational account, you may want to give it a temporary personal touch like that, like a profile photo of you or an overlay over your photo that says human rights chat. If you are an experienced Twitter chatter, that's a mouthful. Another pro tip is I really do like having two columns in Tweetdeck for hashtag human rights chat. And I'll tell you why. The conversation can start to go quite quickly. And it's nice to have one column where I can go in and kind of read what people are saying, and I can reply right there within Tweetdeck, and then have the other column just continuing to show me the live feed so that I make sure that I'm not missing a question or something important that comes up. So my pro tip would be add 2 human rights chat columns so you can see one live feed and then you can scroll through the other to read, like, reply to comments, and then the other column would be in real time. And the thing about Twitter chats as well is you do not have to read all of the tweets in the chat. It's simply not possible sometimes. They move very quickly, and so you want to just make connections where they feel meaningful for you. And you can do that here within TweetDeck just like you would on Twitter. You can access all the same modes of engagement. And then another great feature of TweetDeck is that you can schedule your tweets as well. So if I type in, a tweet here for human rights chat, and I just want to be extra prepared for the conversation or give myself the capacity to participate during the hour a little bit more to really engage in dialogue with our activist community, then I can schedule my tweets, and I'll give you a resource in just a minute that will list the times if that is something that you would be interested in. All right, any other questions on TweetDeck? I'm going to jump back over here to my presentation. All right, so just some last reminders here. As you're promoting the chat, remember that folks can benefit from and follow Human Rights Chat without a Twitter account. They can watch and they can access the links and the things that are posted. People don't necessarily have to see and interact with your tweets during that synchronous hour of time. One of the beautiful things about Twitter chats is that people can revisit, to read, to reply asynchronously after the hour is up. So while most of our interaction will be happening during that hour, I will probably give it a few days before I archive the chat, just because there may be some, residual people that are seeing and commenting and replying using the Human Rights Chat hashtag. And also, just a best practice, sometimes people get a little bit lost in Twitter chats. They may get behind in the conversation. We might be on question 4 and all of a sudden somebody pops in and they're answering question 1, and that is perfectly okay. It's kind of synchronously asynchronous. And so that's why we use that Q1A1 format so that people know which question you are referring to in your answer. And of course, well, I didn't mention this one. If there are any trolls, because this is a public conversation, best practice there is just to ignore and or immediately block. I don't anticipate that this conversation would be derailed by any people with nefarious, things, but you never know. And best practice is just to ignore and not reply to those particular tweets. And then, of course, the most important tip, anybody that you know that's participating, please remind them that they have to include the hashtag in every single tweet, and that they are not case sensitive. So uppercase, lowercase doesn't make a difference. All right, and we are just right on time. That's all I have for you today. And to let you guys know, if you have any additional questions, you can always shoot me an email. I think I've been in touch with most of you via email. And the new tactics will be archiving this conversation via a third-party tool called Wakelet. And so it will live on our website where people can read through it chronologically, just the Human Rights Chat hour-long conversation itself. And we'll summarize that on our website and alert participants when that summary is available, as well as I will probably tweet out towards the end of a chat a feedback form for anyone that participated. And then in another month or two, we will have some interns who are working on podcasting a recap episode of this conversation to bring those same resources on wellness and resilience and activism to anyone who maybe missed all of the great information that was shared during this conversation. So if you have any last questions, I will stay on for a few minutes, but please reach out if you think of anything else between now and October 5th.